Hi, Jim here, and you're listening to the Honest Filmmaker Podcast, career advice from people in the business. This week, I've got Rosa back on the podcast. She's a film producer, a film distribution and marketing consultant, and she helps filmmakers fund, sell, market, and distribute their films. Hi, Rosa. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here again,
Good.
sharing my knowledge.
Good. Lots to talk about. So this episode, we're calling it The Truth About Film Distribution, because again, it's one of those parts of the filmmaking process that is hard to get your head around. And sometimes you make the mistake of not really thinking about it until you've got a finished product. But let's dive straight in. Filmmakers, what's sort of some of the biggest misconceptions you think they have about film distribution?
That they don't need to think about distribution until they finish their film.
Yeah.
And that's not correct. I mean, even film distributors, they say it again and again, we should be involved from the beginning. So if you have a distributor from the beginning or someone who knows distribution from the beginning, you make sure that actually your film will get somewhere and will be seen, because that's, in the end, that's the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And would you, if you're trying to find those distributors, are you using the same tools like your pitch deck? Are you using the same tools to contact them and kind of establish those relationships early on?
I mean, yes. Of course, you have different versions. I mean, we have different versions of your slide deck or your pitch deck. You cannot have the same slide deck for an investor and when you are in development or production than when you are looking for film distributors. So it's not the same. Also, the way that you meet distributors is in film markets. If you send an email, if you send a slide deck, they won't see it. And I think now I'm looking at email, I think it has less response than social media. So that's just, I don't know if funny, but I mean, now that I went to American Film Market, I went to Midcom last year, and the way I connected with them was through LinkedIn. Like, I sent emails as well, and they didn't. I mean, maybe one answered me, but then LinkedIn, they almost like 80% of the people there that I connected, they answer me, and if they didn't answer me right away, they answer me like maybe a few weeks later.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting, that, because
yeah,
an email is sort of easier to ignore, and with LinkedIn, you're immediately showing someone who you are, and they can check you out straight away from your message and be like, oh, she's legit, I'll have a conversation. That's in social media, LinkedIn. Good tip there.
yeah. So let me know when you do it, let me know if they answer.
Yeah. So going to those markets, really, really valuable way to meet people. And it's kind of like any part of the process of filmmaking, getting into festivals, all that kind of stuff. If you've met somebody, you've shook their hand, you've kind of connected with them, you've got a much better chance of that turning into something later down the line. So looking at distribution now, since when I started like 20 years ago, everything seems to have changed. So how has it changed, like even over the last kind of like 5 years, do you think?
Well, I think something that have changed completely is the way, is kind of like the way it was, I forgot so the way it was distributed before. You started with theatrical, and then you went to streaming, and then it was like, I think the window between theatrical, no, I don't think that the window between theatrical and streaming was 6 months, sometimes 1 year. And then with the pandemic, that changed. So that was Disney that said, I don't need to wait for you to actually release my film. I mean, look at this. This is, no one is going to the film theater right now because it is dangerous. So I'll just release my films on my platform. And exhibitors, they didn't have another choice to say, oh yeah, wait, okay. So then we do it this way, 3 months. And now it's like 3 months between theatrical and streaming. Also, something that had changed is not the theatrical that is calling the shots. Now it's the streaming platforms. So everyone wants to be on Netflix or Amazon or all these huge platforms. It's like they care about exhibitors, they care about film theaters and a theatrical release. Yes, but it's like they want to be on Netflix. Something important that we need to take into account here is that if you go to Netflix, you won't. I mean, if you have a $1 million budget film, you won't make that kind of money on Netflix. That's the thing. I always say that system is so broken because you need to make money for your film, but the only way that you can make money with your film is still theatrical, and theatrical is kind of dying. So yeah,
it's a tough one, isn't it? It's I feel like the pandemic sped up what was going to happen anyway. I think it was on the cards that it was going to go this way, but it just meant it was easier for those companies like your Disney's and your Netflix to release films straight away onto streaming. And it is weird because if you go to the cinema now, there doesn't seem to be as much stuff on as there used to be. The flip side to that, I'd say the kind of positive out of that is, as a independent filmmaker, as a micro budget filmmaker, it isn't so looked down on for your film to come out straight away on streaming, and you can appear on multiple platforms on day one that are connected with lots of different audiences, and even like having your film for sale on YouTube, or even with advertising, there's still money to be made in all these different places. Whereas before, there's probably a level that would be acceptable theatrical that you wouldn't be able to sort of get past unless you were over a certain budget level. So looking at those distribution options in front of filmmakers, what types of deals are there now, do you think, for distribution?
there's different types of deals. Is you find a sales agent, and there's lots of middlemen in between your film and the film distributor. The ideal will be you having a film distributor, and then they have the contacts, so you don't have the sales agent. So the sales agent, it's one step, and then sales agent is the one who has like all these contacts, and then just for that you give them between 20-30% of your film, not your film, but the revenue that is supposed to make. And then from there, and then all the expenses as well. Like they charge the expenses first, and then they charge the 30%. And then you have the film distributor, and then you have the aggregator. It's not that you go and knock on the door on Netflix and say, hey, hi, I have a film. It's like, no, you need to go, it's this filter, so you need to have an aggregator that takes your film, and then they offer it to Netflix. And then also another deal, and I think something that it's really good, is Film Hub. So it's like, that's a distributor online. I mean, that's a platform that helps you to do all these deals like just online. It's like a tech solution, and I think that's really good because it's more transparent. You have access to different tools. I mean, it's not like waiting for the film distributor to send you a report because you don't know anything. I mean, that's my film. Here you have. Let's see. Let's see what happens and pray that makes money, because we don't know if they're doing what they said they were doing on marketing, releasing, unless that you have a good relationship with a film distributor and they actually answer your calls, and they sit down with you. I mean, you can actually do that kind of contract. I don't think filmmakers know how powerful having the right contract is. And most of the times they don't even read it, so they don't know what it is. It's just oh no, take my film here. And then what? So yeah, well, I went out of I went another way, but yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, because the contract, it's tough if you've not, like we talked about earlier, if you've not thought about distribution until you come to sell the film. You're kind of in a much less powerful position to negotiate, and when you get that contract, it can feel a little bit like that might be the only option for your film. If you really want to work with somebody, you then start to make compromises on what you'll accept. and like you say, all these marketing fees that a sales agent charges, plus the commission. I mean, with micro budget, obviously, you'd be hard pressed to find a micro budget filmmaker with a positive story about a sales agent, and that might be because of the sort of level of sales agents micro budget filmmakers have to deal with. And then platforms like Film Hub, fantastic. But obviously, then you're almost like your own distributor, and you've got to do all the promotion, and you've got to kind of shout about your film and find your audience and all that kind of stuff. So it does change the dynamic a little bit. So
just going back to
yeah, go
something
ahead.
that you just said, that if you are on Film Hub, that all the marketing goes also, like, oh, you need to be in charge of the marketing. But sometimes with film distributors also, you need to be in charge
Yeah,
of the
true, very
marketing.
true. Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's not that you have a film distributor, they might do everything, but also marketing, that's we have talked about this before. Marketing, it shouldn't be like on the side. In the same way that you think about film distribution, you need to think about marketing from the beginning. So you have an audience, you can build an audience with time, and then you don't wait for the distributor to do all the heavy job of marketing. Then you know what they like, they know what, I mean, you know your audience better than anyone else. But if you haven't done your work or your homework as a filmmaker, not even trying to know the audience that is actually gonna watch your film, then why would the distributor would do that?
Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll point people to. So we did an episode called "How to Promote Your Film Marketing Strategy" on the podcast. First one you came on. That's a really good one to uh, listen to when you're thinking about finding that audience, where to look for them, how to reach them, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you're right that in the past with our films, they've headed off to a distributor uh, via a sales agent, and that's another level of non-communication. So you don't get anything from the sales agent, you don't get anything from the distributor. Sometimes you don't even know when it's coming out, which makes it very hard to promote the film. Um, but the advantage of this day and age where there are so many social media platforms, forums, chat rooms, all these different places, the advantage of that is you've got a little bit more power to do marketing on a much lower budget than you would conventionally if you're trying to get into magazines and stuff like that. And I don't want to sidetrack you into marketing because I know that's your that's your real area of, you'll know it all inside out, the marketing.
Go and watch after they finish watching this, they can go and watch
Yeah, they can
other
watch the other
episode.
ones. I don't want to get you started on that. I don't want to get you started on that. Talk me through the pros and cons of what we're calling self-distribution. So this Film Hub going straight onto streaming platforms. What are the upsides and downsides of that?
Okay, so pros, it's you have control of your film, so you actually manage everything around it. You control the budget, you control what is happening. I mean, you have control of that part of your film, that I think is very empowering and really good for the filmmaker to know what is happening with their film, and also they can take decisions. A con is that this is more work for you, but that doesn't mean that you need to do it alone. Then you can hire someone. The thing is that we believe that we need to find the distributor, so the distributor will do that job. But the thing is, some distributors or people who have been in distribution, you can hire them to work with you, and then you can create a plan, and then you can do it as a part of your team. It's not like something external that you actually give them the film. The film is not yours, actually, just you have given the rights away. So that's another con. I mean, you're giving the rights away of your film, and when you do it yourself, you have the rights. It's like you can hold it and you can sell it to whenever, and you can build a strategy that it's more fits you and your audience, and also your professional career.
Yeah.
Another con, it's that there's no transparency. You cannot see what is going on. I mean, you don't know the numbers, you don't know how much money they're making, when is it, as you said, like sometimes you don't even know the release. So that's another So I don't know. I think for me, I have done distribution, and they have hired me to do it for them. And if you want to have more power in your film, do yourself. It's a good way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is if you go through a sales agent or a distributor, your film will have a limited time life because it will go into their slate of movies that they release. And obviously, it's that initial release that will generate probably the most money. And then it will slowly get pushed into kind of the backpack catalogue, and it will kind of get a little bit forgotten. If you're responsible for the rights, that's something you can continually find new ways to promote it, push it out to new audiences. And like I've noticed, films older films seem to kind of get a second life. Do you know what I mean? They find a new audience. So
Yes.
it's a good way to sort of older films. We've got some films in our back catalogue that we're going to be re-releasing, and I'll be interested to see the response to them now in a world where streaming is so much more prolific than before, when it was all DVD and cable deals and all the aeroplanes and all that kind of stuff. So if we were talking about distributors or sales agents, and I'm negotiating a deal, what are some of the red flags, do you think, for someone that you would maybe either not want to work with, or things that they might put in the contract that could cause you problems later down the line?
Well, one thing that I don't know if I don't know if very often, but I have seen that sometimes they want more time. So they want more time of your film. That means rights, like they want to buy you out, and they have the rights for many years, and they don't do anything with your film. So one thing that you can protect yourself in the contract is having a clause where you can get out of the deal if they haven't done anything in the first year, for example. Like they don't even have a release date. Something else. I mean, I don't even know if they answer emails or they are approachable, because I don't think film distributors are. I mean, it's very sad, because you can have these meetings with them and I don't know if they feel entitled, but now that now that I am the film producer and trying to sell my things and my films, and having like trying to find distributors, I have had the misfortune of they not showing up. Like they don't show up to the meetings, they don't answer emails, they say they will do something, they don't. It's like, I think also respect, but I don't know if you can find that. I don't know if you can find in that part of the business side, and that's really really sad, because they kind of like playing with your time. um and I mean, I think the most important is you protect yourself in the contract. Like protect, if they don't do anything after a certain amount of time, you cancel the deal. Also work with entertainment lawyer, because you're not a lawyer, you're a filmmaker, you are a creative, and it's better that you protect yourself. I mean, you definitely need to protect yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And if a distributor or sales agent gets funny about you amending a contract to protect yourself, then maybe they're not the person to work with if they're not
You don't want to work
interested.
with them.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't want to change the contract, or they are not, I mean, it's like, this is not negotiable, run. I mean, you don't want to be with someone. You don't want to be in business with someone who is not listening to you. I mean, in the end, you are kind of the client. I mean, you are the one giving your piece of art for them to make money with it.
Yeah, that is a tough one when you're in that position, though. Like I say, and you've come to the end of a production and you've got limited options. Well, I mean, you haven't now because you can self-distribute, but back in the day, you'd have a limited amount of distributors or sales agents you would think would want the film. You can get overwhelmed by, I've made it, I just want to get it out there. Okay, if I make these compromises, at least the film's going to get out there and we're going to see some money, but you will pay for it later down the line.
But that's the thing. That's when you don't know. If you inform yourself, if you know what are your options in film distribution, then you wouldn't be scared of losing that opportunity, because then you know that you have other options. You're already working in your plan B and C and D.
Yeah.
Like that's not, even if that's your plan A and you want it so bad, it's like this is not this not going to stop me. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do it. And that's why you have a course, or you go and look for the wisdom and the knowledge that you need so you can take educated decisions.
Yeah. And I would go back to your point about a clause to get out. I think that's a really good idea. Wish I'd done that on a few deals in the past. And also never sign a deal for infinite, rights that just go on forever, because I've seen those ones before. The whole buyout thing, it just makes my skin crawl when someone says, "Oh, we just want your film forever, and it's not yours anymore; it's ours." Yeah. And we've got all these clauses, so we're never really going to pay you any money. So essentially, you're just giving it over for nothing. That's not a good deal.
That's true. Something that I learned, like related to what you're saying, I learned in Midcom, and that's distributors and content, like people who buy content, like this will be the broadcast and all this, the fast channels that now they are like very on vogue. All these people, like they buy content in massive amounts. Second, they want the rights. They don't want to give you a minimum guarantee, but the thing is, they want more and more. They need a huge amounts of content to keep people satisfied, but they pay so little. So I don't understand. This is not like the business. If you have high demand, it should be really expensive. But in this case, it's not expensive. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
And I think this is the creative. I mean, this is where the disconnection between the business and the creative side, it's happening.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But yeah, like you say, going to those markets, and I would say speaking to people, having those conversations really helps you to figure that world out, because it is a bit clouded in mystery and it can be a bit overwhelming sometimes. So we're lucky enough you're going to give us another free download on film distribution. Is that right?
Yes. I have prepared for you a film distribution strategy template. So you start somewhere with your plan when you go into distribution. It's never too late to learn how to distribute your film, even though it could be someone else's job, like knowing what's going to happen with your film and then taking decisions, not out of fear, based on fear, but based and educating yourself and knowing what's going to happen with your film. I mean, it's much better. I promise you better results.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I'll put the link to that in the description. So it just leaves me to say thanks again so much for coming on, Rosa.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun to talk about all these things, and I know it's like so much to talk.
Yeah. There's a lot to talk about, and hopefully I'll get you persuade you to come back on in the future.
Thank you.
So just leaves me to say thanks a lot for listening. If you want to listen to more chats with people who are working in the industry right now, or you want some great indie filmmaking tips, then please do subscribe to the Honest Filmmaker Podcast.